So I got a little story for you guys from a couple years ago when I was staying in this apartment, right? And the landlord, it was this fat lady, right? She was threatening to kick me out because I used to always have like parties and have people over and stuff like that, right? And this is back when I was doing the music thing, right? So one day, like after a party or something, I had like five or six chicks in my apartment, right? And we had the door open, and they were like smoking and drinking, and all that good stuff, and just being loud as fuck, right, in the apartment. And I lived on the second floor. Now the landlady, she lived right under me, right? She was like a single mom or some shit, and she was like the manager of the apartment complex or some little job like that. And she was a single parent, and she had like a big ass family living with her, right, with no man. So what? So that same day, like she comes up this, and my homeboy's with me too, right, who I used to do music with or whatever. So she comes up the stairs, right, and starts bitching at me. And she's like, "Hey, if you don't fucking stop with all this noise and shit, I'm gonna kick you out, and you're gonna be out, and you're gonna have like a week to get out of here. Like you're gonna have 7 days to evacuate or some shit like that. Um, and you're gonna have to leave, right?" Now I didn't really talk back to her because that's not me. I get quiet when people are threatening me, and then I just plan my next move, in my head. I don't retaliate. I don't let them know what I'm thinking. So I'm just like nodding, smiling, like, yeah, 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 okay, yeah, whatever you say, yep, yep. And she goes down the stairs, and my buddy is like, "See, man, that's why you need to have your own place. Like, that's why when we get this money, we're gonna buy our own cribs and stuff like that, and then no one can tell us what to do, right? No one can tell us what to do." And, at the time, I thought he was right. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, man, once you get the money, you get your own place, and no one can tell you what to do. And, I bought into that whole independence and freedom lie, right? I bought into that whole, like, once you get the money, no one can fuck with you kind of thing, right? But as I got a little older, I started to realize that no matter what your living situation is in America, you're still pretty powerless as a man. Whether you own a house, whether you rent an apartment, all your shit can be ripped away from you. It's really just an illusion, this whole like make it to a certain level thing. It's really bullshit because, okay, let's pretend you own the house, right? And let's pretend it's paid off, right? So the bank can't take it from you, whatever. Just because your house is paid off doesn't mean you can't get locked up, right? Doesn't mean you can't get killed. Doesn't mean if you were to get divorced, your wife can't take it from you. Um, just because you're renting an apartment, right? And you say, all right, well, I'm not going to fall for the trap of getting a mortgage, right? So I'm going to rent an apartment forever. Well, some shit might happen where you have to go on the run, right? Maybe some dudes are after you. I mean, I don't know. Maybe someone's after. Maybe the point I'm trying to make is maybe a chick lies that you did something to her. Now you're locked up. Whatever. The point is like you can be ripped away from your shit at any second, right? So this whole thing that we're gonna make it to the top and then no one can fuck with us, it really doesn't hold much weight because you don't own anything in this country, right? And you have to be ready to walk away from all of it, right? And it's funny. I did a video on this. I did a video on this already, but I just had a more personal example of when the landlord was fucking with me, threatening to kick me out. And if I knew what I knew now, then I would have been laughing even more at her because it's like, bitch, I don't own anything in this country anyway. So you're threatening me with something that I already don't even own. I'll just go find another place to live. And then when that person kicks me out, I'll just go find another place to live because I don't own it anyway. So it's like, what's the fucking point? Like, there's no point in being afraid or being attached to anything because you don't own it anyway. And the second people feel like you're attached to it, they're just going to use it as a weapon against you anyway. So the best middle finger to give them is to just let go. Like, yo, take your shit back. Take the house. Take the shitty ass apartment. I don't give a fuck, and just walk away. because you don't own it anyway. The state, the government owns all the important land. They own everything really, and money doesn't even have owners; it has spenders. So there's really nothing besides your health and your freedom, right? There is nothing worth getting afraid of losing, right? Because you don't even own it anyway. So so that really killed the whole illusion for me of I'm gonna get the fucking big nice house and the big nice car. Like I used to want all that stuff when I was a kid, right? And then as I started getting some of those things one by one, I started realizing I'm still just as powerless as I was before I had it. And now I have something that can be taken away from me, which adds even more stress because there's this thing called the burden of ownership, right? See, you always fantasize about having this nice shit, right? But you never think about how stressful the upkeep is going to be on that fucking mansion or on those, Rolls Royce car repairs or whatever, man. You don't understand the concept of the burden of ownership. And that really sucks 80% of the fun, for me at least, out of having nice shit was the burden of ownership. When the fucking Mercedes broke down on me at 12,000 miles in the middle of a fucking jam-packed highway, on a Saturday night when I have my fucking date in the passenger seat. And I'm like, what the fuck, Or, it's just, you just realize that, like, you have nothing to be afraid of because you don't have shit anyway. And you don't, when you make it to these certain levels of status and power, no one fucking rewards you, number one. People just thought, okay, now I can prey on him. And, and you still don't even own it. Like, even in that moment, it's still not really yours, People want you to come up so they can rip shit away from you. That's really just all it is. And people love to have things to use as leverage against you to enslave you. And this landlord bitch was threatening to kick me out of the apartment. She didn't really want to kick me out. She just wanted to assert her power and get an ego boost and feel like she's in control of something. But it's like, you have to take the opposite approach. You have to be like, all right, bitch, you know what? You have all the power. It is your apartment. So fuck your apartment, keep it, and I'm gonna leave, and you're gonna have no one to control. And you're just going to have your empty ass apartment, And you really have to take that approach with all your possessions. And I think that's really what the saying, the things you own end up owning you, means, because you become so afraid of losing them, but you don't really own them anyway. So it's really just unnecessary, man, in my opinion. But that's my little landlord story. If I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have been even slightly worried about getting kicked out of my apartment. And I wouldn't have even had that feeling of like, oh man, one day when I make it, no one can tell me shit. Because the reality is it doesn't matter how much you make it. You still don't own shit. And they can still rip all your shit away from you and throw you in jail. So you have to just be like indifferent. In a way, it's like the ultimate peace of mind because it's like, I've already made it now before I've even made it, because I know when I make it, I'm not going to feel any different than I feel now. So I've already made it, if you know what I'm saying, because I'm going to be equally as powerless when I make it as I am right now. So in a way, I've already made it. So I can just take my time building what I want and not even being attached to it, because I know it's not going to be much different when I have it, right? So that's just my little story.